Out in the real world, if someone calls you heavy, that's kind of an insult. Whereas if they call you strong, that's a pretty good compliment. On the mats, it's a different story. If someone says you feel heavy after a roll, that's a huge compliment. And if they call you strong, it's a bit of a backhanded compliment. So if you want people to call you a well-fed hippopotamus, then watch this video.
Different facets of pressure, and one of the common ones is this wet blanket sort of pressure. So what I mean by that is you're using dead weight to basically smother your training partner, and a great example of that would be a classic side control situation. What we want to do with this is I want to open up my legs so that my weight is able to lay on him, because if I keep this too narrow, I'm up and all rounded here, there's no weight falling into him. What I want to do is open up and lay my body weight down. Now it's going to be like dead weight, okay? So almost lazy with the way my body is. If I stay too tense, I'm rigid. If you imagine if he's pushing a barbell or something, it's going to be easier for him, or like a large plank, it's going to be much easier for him to push a hard object up versus if it was a giant wet blanket that's going to kind of smother him. So that's what we're trying to do here. So when I get to this side control position, I'm going to just lay dead weight on him. This might not crush him, but it's definitely gonna start wearing at him. Okay, so just try to move around. It's gonna be hard, okay? Another example of that would be in mount. So if I'm sitting in mount position, if I just hover over him or pose too much weight on the floor, I'm not heavy. So in order for me to be heavy, I'm going to be dead weight, okay? When I get this dead weight, I'm just going to be laying down on him with, again, that wet blanket sort of pressure. It's just dead weight here, and this is enough to smother and start wearing him down. I'm opening up my knees a little bit to allow my body to fall. Of course, people can get into these spaces and stuff later on, but so we'll be finding ways to be active with our legs as well. But for right now, just for this concept, dead weight on the chest. So with the wet blanket sort of pressure, we can also add shoulder pressure. So while I have this dead weight, I will have something active, and that's going to be my shoulder. I'm going to concentrate it right against his face, using the hard part of my shoulder. While I'm doing this, I'm also controlling the space. So now I have this dead weight kind of smothering him, and then I have my shoulder pressing down, closing all the space. So this is going to be very difficult for him to move around, try to speak, say some words.
Yeah, this is tight.
And I'm very relaxed. This is not a demanding motion. Now I can do the same thing from mount. I have my wet blanket pressure here, dead lazy weight. I find that part of his jaw, and I can start putting pressure on that. I don't want to take off my my wet blanket pressure while I do the shoulder pressure. What I want to do is combine them. So when I combine them and I have dead weight and I have shoulder pressure, when again try to speak, try to move, it's a horrible situation for him, and I'm able to stay relaxed.
You're just trying to enjoy a normal grappling match, when all of a sudden, there are Legos on the ground. Your 5-year-old is trying to kill you. You've survived the ordeal, but you're writhing in agony. But you won't be suffering for long. Check out fightbackcbd.com and use discount code DARKNESS.
So this is going to be concentrated pressure. This is an example of this would be an over-under pass, or maybe a scarf hold, where you use a really hard surface of your body against a vulnerable spot on your training partner's body. And a lot of times we're based in a way where we're up on our toes or on a tripod sort of situation, because now you're trying to be as heavy as possible in one spot. So if you were to do like a one-arm plank, for example, this is pretty heavy when I'm on my toes. It's super light when I'm on my knees. But if I tripod into it a little more, it'd be a little bit more of a struggle because I'm concentrating it into one area. So we're going to do that with this. So an over-under pass is one example of this. So if I'm in an over-under pass situation, if I'm on the knees, do I feel heavy? Now I feel very light here because now I can't do the wet blanket pressure. I mean, it can do something, but he's gonna. Do you feel pressure though?
Just on my pelvis, that's it.
So it's very light.
Yeah. Exactly.
But if I take my shoulder and I press it into a vulnerable spot like his abs or breathing muscles, like if I get to the solar plexus, now if I tripod up and I concentrate it just into that part of the shoulder, now start talking, Jeff.
Oh yeah, that pins you down.
This, while I'm still relaxed, this is a lot of pressure on him. Okay, another example of concentrated pressure like that would be the scarf hold scenario, where I'm going to take my true ribs versus his, what do you call it, the floating ribs. Well, what do you call the
False ribs.
False ribs, and what are the other ones? True ribs and false ribs?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in the medical field. So, if I sit here and I just, if I just try to squeeze him, this might put some tension on him, but I have to find the right spot. So I take the hard surface of my ribs, and I know where the false ribs are on him. So I'm going to grind into those while I'm going to be active on my legs. So now, again, I'm kind of like dead weight, but my weight is concentrated into that one spot. So now, when Jeff goes to speak,
Yeah, this is heavy.
this is going to be a lot of pressure. And again, I'm still pretty relaxed, but my ribs are carrying the weight. So I've targeted one spot using a hard surface. If I'm in a very high mount, I can start squeezing his limbs together and stuff. But to be heavy here, I can do the Hodger Gracie technique, which is he basically does this posterior pelvic tilt, which it's almost like you deflate yourself a little bit. So you're here, I feel heavy, right? Like reasonably heavy. But when I do this, how's the weight?
Million times heavier.
It's extremely heavy. It's all of the weight is just dropped into one spot, and again, it's on a vulnerable spot. So what you're doing here is pelvic tilting and kind of deflating. So you sink, your body weight kind of sinks in that space and then just crushes them. And it's extremely easy to balance when we're in a high mount position like this. This is, so I squeeze here, I relax with my body, try to move me around. I can sit here all day, and it's just lazy, dead weight here.
If you want to feel entirely rejuvenated, be sure to visit CryoPure Spa in Highland Park, Illinois. Tell them that Darkness sent you, and you will get 50% off.